The subject of today's show, in the broadest sense, is subjectivity. The subject is, yes, subjectivity. That's what it is. But it's going to meander here and there, a lot of zigs and zags in today's show. I'm going to be talking about the summertime blues. Does your system sound substantially worse in the summer months than it does the rest of the year? Yeah, it usually does. So it's not just you. I'm going to be doing an Audiophiliac viewer system of the day later on in the show. And also later on in the show, I'm going to go back and do another try with the MoFi misstep. Now, everybody and their brother has made videos or written articles about MoFi's troubles. Let's put it that way. And I've done mine, but I'm going to do it again. And I think the take I'm going to do this time is different than certainly mine, and I think pretty much everybody else. So, well, that'll be up to you, for you to judge how I'm seeing this situation. But anyway, the summertime blues. It's hot. It's humid. It can put a cloak of darkness over the sound of your system. The eargasms that used to happen a lot before, in January, in September, they're not happening now because your system's just not firing on all cylinders. Now, yeah, I think the heat is a part of it. I think humidity, sure. But the power coming out of your wall, if you live in an apartment building, everybody in your building is running their air conditioner, that's going to add more crap to the AC, the electricity that's coming out of your walls. I think that would be part of it. Even if you use a power line conditioner, I'm not so sure that that's going to completely scrub that electricity perfectly clean. So there's that. And then there's the sound of the air conditioner doing its job, the whoosh of the air coming through your air conditioner. How significant is that? Does it have an audible effect? And I'm going to ask you to do a very simple experiment. Now, you will need a sound pressure level meter. Now, I use this app, this one right here, on my phone, but you can use whatever, but this is the one I use. And I want you to take a meter reading with the air conditioner turned off to set a baseline, then turn on the air conditioner at the level that you would normally be using it at, and see the difference. Now, if the air conditioner is adding, let's say, 5 dB of noise, which I would say would be a pretty quiet air conditioner, but it could be more, could be 8, could be 10, could be 12, could be more. I don't know. Depends on the air conditioner. Depends how close you are to the air conditioner itself. But with the air conditioner on, is it adding noise? Chances are it is. And that noise is masking the low-level detail in your music, the quieter parts of the music, because they're being covered up by the sound of the air from the air conditioner. That's a problem for audiophiles, because a lot of the detail is in that quiet part of the music. But of course, the solution for noisy air conditioners is relatively simple, and that is cool the room down as much as you can, turn off the air conditioner, then listen for however long you can, 20 minutes, a half an hour before the room heats up, and there you go. So you'll have a relatively cool room, and you'll have no sound from your air conditioner. If that works for you, because maybe you just need the air conditioner on 24 hours a day right now. Anyway, it's something to think about. Something to think about is the noise of the air conditioner and the power coming out of your wall, which, like I said, a power line conditioner might be a help. So I don't want to dismiss that entirely, and I'm sure I will hear from some of you in the comments that a power line conditioner really makes a difference, especially in the summertime. So speak up, because my general experiences with power line conditioners is they either do nothing or they make things sound worse. Now, there is another subjective call, because it's one thing to say that you hear a difference in the sound of your system, but determining whether the difference is actually an improvement or a problem, that can sometimes be pretty darn subjective. Now, I am a subjective reviewer. I've been a subjective reviewer professional. I only make my living doing this for over 20 years now. No measurements, no tests, no objectivity, no blind A/Bs, just with my ears. I have a feeling that since I've done it so long, I think I must have been doing something okay. Somehow people keep coming back for more. A subjective opinion right there, right? But anyway, you guys are, I'm pretty sure most people who are watching me who aren't reviewers are in fact subjective listeners. You have chosen the equipment that you're living with subjectively. I mean, you like it, you like the way it sounds, you like the way it looks, you like the company's reputation, their service, all those things. Those are pretty much subjective because there's no analysis that could prove that you have made the right decision. It was your subjective call to buy that product, and if you're living with it over time, I guess that means that you like the product. So subjectivity kind of rules, because if people, well, the other side, the objectivists who are measuring things and determining that product A is better than product B because it measures better, well, that would be useful if the people buying the products were measuring them as opposed to listening to them. So anyway, we've had our issues. The objective versus subjective camps have been shooting arrows at each other for a really long time, and I'm on my side, they're on their side. And you know what? We can get along, and we have gotten along over all these decades. There hasn't been a clear winner in this objective versus subjective thing. But I am making mention here that the reviewers are the reviewers, but the buyers are almost always subjective. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. Oh, let's get back to the summertime blues. I almost forgot. What about your amplifier? Now that can be a major source of heat, of heating up your room. If you have a big tube amplifiers, that can certainly do a job. A big Class A amplifier, probably even worse in terms of heating up your room. And even some AB amplifiers, they still can run pretty darn hot. So if that's for you, if that's what you're using, a big amplifier putting out a lot of heat, well, my workaround solution, which may not be so attractive to you, but I'll throw it out there anyway, and that is perhaps in the summer months when it's really, really bad, when it's brutal outside, maybe you should have a summer amplifier, a Class D amplifier, which runs relatively cool compared to the others. Doesn't have to sound as good as your other amps, but it'll certainly make you feel better by not heating up your room. So that is one kind of a workaround solution. A Class D amplifier for when you really don't want to heat up your room. And it's nice to have an alternative amplifier anyway. I like contrast. I like going from one sound to the next. So even when it's not hot, you may find days where you actually prefer the sound of the Class D amplifier over your tubes or Class A or AB amplifiers. I'm just saying. Whether it's the summer or not, your system really can sound different from day to day. On Tuesday, it was incredible. Everything, it was a perfect 10 on Tuesday. You never need to change your system ever again to make it sound better because you hit the target. You were done. But then on Wednesday, the magic wasn't there. It was like, wait, I'm playing the same recordings. The system is exactly as it was yesterday, but now it's just not as good. What went wrong? Yeah. And when that happens, it can really put you through changes, and you can start to think, maybe I need to buy new speakers or a better interconnect cable, or maybe a power line conditioner. That would make it more consistent, a power line conditioner. Maybe that would make it more consistent from day to day. Maybe it would. But that is a terrible idea. It is just a 100% bad concept to make a change because your system isn't sounding good right now or hasn't for the last few days or weeks or something. That's just not logical thinking. The heat's getting to you. I think that's the problem, right? Because it was sounding fine. It was sounding really good. But now it's not. And you think, I need a new thing. I need a new toy to get back. No, that's not correct. That is definitely not correct. And I don't even think that's a subjective opinion. Because, well, you're just reacting to the day-to-day changes of your system, summer or winter. It doesn't matter. It changes all the time. It has good days and bad days for all sorts of reasons. Temperature, humidity, whatever, background noise levels, all of it takes a toll. but don't make sudden moves, is what I'm saying here. Okay, so now I'm going to try. Yeah, I'm going to try. Keyword here is try. I'm going to try to tackle the MoFi debacle, their misstep, one more time. And everybody has chimed in. Everybody has piled on. Opinions, right? I'm going to take, I think, a different track here. Now, and this has nothing to do with using digital masters. Say you're using analog masters, but they're in fact using, digital copies of the analog tape. I'm not going there. That's not my point this time. My point is the idea that any company, Mobile Fidelity or others, it's not just specifically about Mobile Fidelity, any company that remasters an LP or a CD, but let's just stick with LPs, is going to change the sound of the recording. That's why they're doing a remaster. It was mastered before, and now it's being remastered. And the purpose of making a remaster is to make it sound better, subjectively better. Yeah, we're still on subjectivity. Better, subjectively better. And Mobile Fidelity has done a really good job of making remasters that generally most people feel do sound really good. And other companies too. DCC has done it. Classic Records did some fantastic remasters of Led Zeppelin. I wish I owned some. So somehow, Classic Records, I want to take it off MoFi for a little bit. So somehow, Classic Records, Led Zeppelin remasters are just phenomenal. And I really think they are. I wouldn't pay the prices that are charged for them, but I agree that they are phenomenal. So what did Classic Records do to make those Led Zeppelin albums sound better than the originals that came out in the 60s and 70s? The talent of the mastering engineers themselves, the mastering chain they used, not just brought out more of what the original analog tape sounded like, but they made creative decisions in mastering to change, subjectively make improvements to change the sound of those master tapes, those Led Zeppelin analog masters. And that's why people like them. And when some other company remasters Led Zeppelin, they make different sets of decisions about how to make it sound subjectively better. It's up to the buyers of these remastered LPs to decide which one they think is better, or they can buy one, the Led Zeppelin classic, and they say, that's good, I'm done now. Great, fantastic. I think they could say, I think it's better than the original versions on Atlantic Records. Fantastic. But I just want to stress here that the decisions, basically I'm saying, is that a remastering engineer's job isn't to make a duplicate of the analog master, but just transfer it over to the vinyl medium, to the LP format. That is not what's going on, a one-to-one copy. Not even close. There's many changes made, and that's why mastering engineers have gigs, because they're doing something to pull out more music from it that they think, with dynamic range compression and equalization and processing and level matching, they're doing all sorts of things to make it sound subjectively better. That's it. So like I said, I'm not going back to the MoFi, did they use DSD, and that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the art of remastering music and what is going on there. Now, the thing I have to tack on to this idea, though, is that somehow people call these remastered versions from any of those companies audiophile records. That these are now somehow transformed from what they were, non-audiophile recordings, into audiophile recordings, or maybe more properly, audiophile remasters. I'll take it either way. But in any case, the original recordings, where they were multi-tracked and overdubbed and processed and EQ'd and definitely dynamic range compression, all these things that were done to the original are baked in to the master. They can't be undone. They can't make it less dynamic than it ever was, right? So they are not in intention by the original engineers and producers in the band, quote, audiophile recordings. They are now, let's say, beloved by audiophiles. Sure, whatever you are into intrinsically sounds good. It's hard to find someone who says, you know, I love this music, but I hate the recording. I mean, it does happen, but generally the music that people love, they feel warmly towards the sound of those recordings. There are exceptions, I'm not saying otherwise, but you know, chances are if you like the music, you will at least tolerate the sound quality of the recording. But anyway, I'm frustrated by this tagging on, let's say, calling Steely Dan an audiophile recording. I think it's a really nice sounding recording. I'm not a super Steely Dan fan, but I get it. I understand why audiophiles like the sound. That's cool. But an audiophile recording to me, subjectively, means a recording that was recorded, mixed, and mastered from its inception to sound really good, to capture the sound of a band's performance, the whole thing, without edits, without, well, basically a you are there version of what happened at a session. And that's not generally what happens in most popular music and rock music and rap music and country music, whatever. Those recordings take months to make. It's not the band goes in and plays the tune and they're done, right? They're done in pieces. They're pieces of sound that are assembled together into a song. The vocals were done in California and the drums were done in New York and the background singers were done in Tennessee. They're just assemblages of sound. Nothing wrong with that. But it's not like capturing a performance, which to me is inherent to what an audiophile recording is. Again, my subjective opinion. So record companies like Chesky Records, which yes, I have worked for from time to time, or MA Recording, my friend Todd Garfunkel's label, or Water Lily, Cavi Alexander, a genius recording engineer, Reference Recording, Keith Johnson, amazing master of recording. Those people are recording, or those people's recordings are referred to as audiophile recordings because they are recording entire performances. And I don't mean necessarily on a concert stage, I mean in a studio or in a church. The whole thing, live to 2-track for the most part. To me, subjectively, that's what defines what an audiophile recording is. Simon & Garfunkel, great band. Those recordings are not audiophile. The Beatles, I love the Beatles, not audiophile recordings. I don't care if they're on 180 gram pressing, that doesn't somehow make them become an audiophile recording. Again, my opinion. I'd love to hear your recordings because I think what that term means, an audiophile recording, in the broad sense of the work that Mobile Fidelity has done and DCC and Classic Records. Those are recordings that are, let's say, beloved by audiophiles. Audiophiles love them. Cool, fantastic. I don't want to rain on anybody's parade. If you find joy in that music, go for it. Absolutely. And if you want a better pressing with better vinyl or quieter vinyl or Japanese vinyl or whatever, sure, absolutely. Yeah. I'm not talking about that. As for the MoFi, yeah, they said they were using analog masters, and it turns out they were making digital copies of analog masters. That was wrong. They shouldn't have done it. I'm sure they're kicking themselves right now over and over and over again. But I think over time, this will all become clear. MoFi will apologize. Individual buyers can decide whether or not they want to move forward with Mobile Fidelity. We'll see. We'll see how that all works out. I hope in the end, if you are one of the people who is really upset by this Mobile Fidelity misstep, I hope that you either forgive and move on or say, no, I'm never going to trust them again. And I think either decision is understandable. That's it. So now, speaking of understandable, it is now time for the Audiophiliac viewer system of the day. Okay, as soon as I opened this email from John, I knew this was the one. Anyway, it's a very turntable-focused system with an old Oracle that John modified that uses a perfectionist engineering bearing with an Origin Live controller and motor. It has 3 tone arms, 2 Signet KT50 arms, as well as an Alfred Bokrand 12-inch arm. The Signet arm on the left has an Audiophiliac mono cartridge that runs into a Moon phono stage. The Signet arm on the back has a Soundsmith Boheme cartridge that goes into the low-level input on a Tavish vintage phono stage. The Bokrand arm has a rebuilt Fidelity Research MC202 cartridge that runs into the Tavish high-level input. And here's 4 more cartridges. The back cartridge is an Audiophiliac SPU number 1E. And then in the front row, from left to right, a modified Denon DL103R, modified Denon Anniversary DLA101, and the one on the right in the front is a beautiful rebuilt Kaseki Blue NS. The Moon and Tavish phono stages are run through an Audio Note kit preamp. The power amp is a C-Core EL34 tube design. The speakers are Graham LS59s with Townsend Super Tweeters facing the rear. There's one REL T9 subwoofer. There is digital in this system, a Jay's CD transport, and a Lederman DAC. But John also streams from a Mac Pro through a Matrix SPDIF interface to a Cord Qtist DAC. Nice going, John. All right, we are back. My name is Steve Guttenberg, and I am the Audiophiliac. If you like what I'm doing here on the channel, my first request is to hit the like button. Please hit the like button. It's important to the algorithm and therefore important to me. But the next thing I want you to consider is, if you truly enjoy the show, please consider joining my Patreon. The address is on the screen right now. You can join and have a monthly payment in dollars, pounds, or euros. Just go to the site, see what you think. If it appeals to you, please join us. If not, I understand. We can still be friends. You could also just subscribe to this channel. That would be fantastic. And when you do subscribe, hit the notification bell every time there's a new episode. And by the way, in case you're not keeping score, there's usually, almost always, 2 episodes per week. And I think with that, I can say my work here is at last complete. Thank you again for watching, and I really, really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.